Good morning, everyone. I want you to imagine you're holding sand in your hand. You grip it tightly, thinking that will keep it from slipping away. But the tighter you hold, the faster it escapes through your fingers. Control works the same way. It's an illusion. The more you try to force it, the more it slips away. But influence is different. Influence isn't about gripping harder. It's about shaping the wind so the sand moves where it needs to go. We grow up believing that control equals power, that if we plan every step, predict every outcome, and eliminate every risk, we can guarantee success. But life doesn't work that way. Business doesn't work that way. The world doesn't work that way. Look around. Some of the most successful people in history didn't control everything. They influenced everything. They didn't force people to follow them, and they made people want to. They didn't dictate the future, they designed it. Take a moment to think about the most influential leaders, innovators, and visionaries in history. Did they have complete control over their circumstances? No. But what they did have was the ability to shape minds, shift perceptions, and build movements. They understood that influence is about more than authority. It's about trust, vision, and impact. Can you control what others think? No. But you can influence how they see things. Can you control the future? No, but you can prepare for it and adapt to it and shape it in your favor. Some people spend their entire lives trying to control the uncontrollable. They obsess over micromanaging, forcing results, and eliminating uncertainty. But the ones who truly make an impact, the ones who build something that lasts, understand a simple truth. You don't need control to lead. You need vision. You need clarity. You need the ability to inspire, to move people, to create something so compelling that others want to be part of it. Influence is not about power. It's about resonance. It's about standing for something so meaningful that people feel it, not because you told them to, but because they believe in it. Think about Apple. Think about Tesla. Think about SpaceX. These companies don't just sell products. They sell ideas. They sell possibilities. They sell belief. They sell belief. They don't control their customers. They inspire them. Now apply that to your own life. Are you trying to control every variable, or are you building something worth following? Are you obsessed with forcing outcomes, or are you creating an environment where great things happen naturally? Because at the end of the day, control fades, but influence lasts. Influence shapes industries. Influence changes lives. We are taught from a young age to plan, predict, and control. We're told that if we work hard enough, plan thoroughly enough, and make the right decisions, we can dictate the outcome of our lives. But reality doesn't work that way. Control is a comforting illusion. It makes us feel safe, as if we can mold the world to fit our expectations. But the truth, the world is unpredictable. The market shifts, trends change, technology disrupts, people evolve. No amount of control can stop that. What separates those who thrive from those who struggle isn't their ability to control, it's their ability to adapt. Look at history. The most successful individuals in businesses weren't the ones who clung to control. They were the ones who embraced change, who saw uncertainty not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Think about Nokia. Once a dominant force in mobile phones, they tried to control the market instead of adapting to the rise of smartphones. Where are they now? Meanwhile, companies like Apple and Google didn't control the future. They shaped it by adapting to what was coming next. Think about nature. The strongest trees aren't the ones that stand rigid against the storm. They're ones that bend, that sway, that adjust to the wind without breaking. Adaptability is nature's way of surviving, and it should be ours too. In business, in leadership, in life, rigidity leads to failure. The moment you believe you have control is the moment you become blind to change. The key is to stay flexible, to embrace uncertainty, to move with the current instead of against it. The world belongs to those who are willing to pivot, who can let go of outdated ideas, and who have the courage to move forward even when the path isn't clear. Because control, it's a myth, but adaptability, that's real power. Control is temporary. Influence is lasting. Think about every ruler, every dictator, every CEO who tried to dominate through sheer control. The moment their grip loosened, everything they built crumbled. Control is fragile. It relies on force, fear, or strict systems that break the moment they face resistance. But influence is different. Influence doesn't rely on rules. It relies on belief. It doesn't force people to act. It makes them want to. And that's why it lasts. History is full of examples. Dictators controlled people through fear, but the moment they lost power, their influence vanished. Meanwhile, leaders like Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King Jr. didn't rely on control. They inspired people with their vision. Their influence still shapes the world today. In business, the same rule applies. If you control employees through micromanagement, they will do the bare minimum to avoid consequences. But if you inspire them, they will go beyond expectations, not because they have to, but because they believe in what they're doing. Look at the greatest brands, Apple, Nike, Tesla. They don't control their customers. They don't force people to buy. Instead, they create products, messages, and cultures so compelling that people voluntarily become lifelong advocates. That's the power of influence. Control dies with the controller. Influence carries on long after. So the question is, do you want to rule for a moment, or do you want to lead for a lifetime? Throughout history, the greatest movements, revolutions, and innovations weren't driven by rules. They were driven by visions, by ideas so powerful that people willingly devoted their energy, passion, and lives to them. Think about it. Did people follow Gandhi because he enforced laws? Did they follow Steve Jobs because of company policies? Did they listen to Elon Musk because of a rule book? No. People followed them because they had a vision, something bigger than themselves, something worth believing in. Rules create order, but vision creates purpose. Look at any workplace. Employees who only follow rules work for a paycheck. Employees who believe in a vision work for a legacy. A company that relies only on policies will have workers who do the minimum. But a company with a clear and inspiring vision. That's where people innovate, where they push boundaries, where they create something extraordinary. The same is true for leadership. A boss who demands obedience gets reluctant followers. A leader who paints a vision gets passionate believers. Rules might tell people what's required, but vision tells them what's possible. And when people see possibility, when they truly believe in something, they don't need rules to tell them what to do. They'll do it because they want to. So ask yourself, are you just enforcing rules, or are you inspiring a vision? Because the ones who change the world don't tell people where to walk. They show them where they can go. We've all seen it: leaders who need to approve every detail, managers who hover over every task, business owners who refuse to delegate. They think they're ensuring perfection, but what they're really doing is creating bottlenecks. They're killing speed, they're crushing morale. Because here's the truth: people don't do their best work under a microscope. They do it when they have the freedom to think, to experiment, to take ownership. The greatest companies, the most successful teams, and the most impactful leaders don't control every step. They set a vision, they trust their people, and they let momentum carry things forward. Think about a river. If you try to control every drop of water, the river stops flowing. But if you guide it, if you let it move naturally, it carves out new paths, builds power, and creates unstoppable force. That's momentum. Momentum turns small wins into big victories. It turns ideas into action, action into progress, and progress into transformation. So if you want to build something great, stop micromanaging. Start trusting. Set the direction, empower your people, and let momentum do what control never could. The people who shape the future aren't the ones obsessed with control. They're the ones who understand perception, how people think, what they believe, and what inspires them to take action. Control is force, perception is influence, and influence is what drives real, lasting change. Look at history. The greatest revolutions, innovations, and breakthroughs didn't happen because someone forced them into existence. They happened because someone changed the way people saw the world. Henry Ford didn't just build cars, he changed the way people thought about transportation. Walt Disney didn't just make movies, he shaped the way people experienced storytelling. Tesla and SpaceX aren't just companies, they're movements built on the perception of possibility. Meanwhile, those who claim to control governments, corporations, outdated institutions eventually collapse under their own weight. Why? Because control is temporary. Perception is powerful. When you shift perception, you don't just change the present, you redefine the future. Think about social media. The brands that try to control every conversation lose relevance. The ones that shape perception by telling better stories, building trust, and inspiring engagement win loyalty. The same applies to leadership. A boss who demands control creates resistance. A leader who shifts perception creates commitment. If you want to lead the future, stop chasing control. Start shaping how people see, think, and believe. Because the future doesn't belong to those who enforce the rules, it belongs to those who rewrite them. You can't force genius, you can't demand innovation, you can't control creativity. Yet too many leaders, managers, and organizations try. They set rigid deadlines, micromanage every detail, and push for results with brute force. And what happens? People burn out, ideas stagnate, progress slows. Because greatness doesn't come from pressure, it comes from the right environment. Think about a garden. You can't force a plant to grow faster by pulling on its leaves. But you can make sure the soil is rich, the sunlight is right, and the water is plentiful. When the conditions are right, growth happens naturally. The same is true for business, leadership, and success. The best teams aren't the ones under the tightest control. They're the ones with the most freedom to explore, experiment, and take risks. Google didn't create its biggest innovations like Gmail and Google Maps by forcing employees to follow strict rules. They did it by giving people space to think, collaborate, and build. Apple didn't become a tech giant by chasing numbers. They focused on designing a culture where creativity thrived and the results followed. The best leaders, the best businesses, the best creators don't try to squeeze greatness out of people. They build a space where greatness naturally emerges. So stop forcing results. Instead, ask yourself, am I creating a culture of trust? Am I giving people the freedom to innovate? Am I setting a vision so compelling that people are naturally driven to achieve it? Because success isn't about controlling outcomes. It's about building an environment where the right outcomes happen on their own.